welcome Eva Valsami-Jones from the University of Birmingham, also Paulina Maziars from the Nanomaterials Journal that will present to us publication ethics for authors. Yeah, it's already on the screen, so Eva, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this works. Okay. This is an experiment, or another experiment. I think most of our presentations, or a lot of what happened in this meeting has been experimental. So I've recently taken on the role of editor-in-chief for the journal Nanomaterials, so you know where to publish your best papers now. And my colleagues there actually offered this session to educate you guys amongst all the practical, direct things that you're learning. This is something very important, but perhaps something you didn't think or you didn't expect you would be educated on, which is ethics in publishing. So it gives me great pleasure. I'm no expert on ethics in publishing. I am learning, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce Paulina Maziars. Probably messed up her name, but she will forgive me, who is actually the relations specialist for our journal, for nanomaterials. She is a PhD in science. She's been with Nanomaterials, I think, 4 years. So she has experienced a lot on various serious and less serious aspects of ethics in publishing, and she's the best person to actually introduce the topic to you. So over to you, Paulina.
Maybe I will stay here. So maybe my presentation, actually the topic that I want to present to you is a little bit different than those that you have been listening today. But there are a few aspects that from the publications point of view that I believe not everyone are considering, because I've been there, I was publishing during my PhD studies, and to be honest, until I started working in nanomaterials and becoming the journal relations specialist, I haven't been thinking about it and how is it working. And sometimes I also believe that the authors may be concerned about why the journal is taking these steps and simply doesn't update the paper as you requested. So now I will tell you a few words how is it working and why some papers cannot be, for example, just updated. So maybe let me start a few words about the nanomaterials. Those will be just a few slides so to make you aware about the journal. As Professor already said, since January she is our new editor-in-chief. If I can be honest, I really like this cooperation and I really like discussions that we have and the ideas that we have also for improvements. Here you can see some of the examples of issue covers in nanomaterials. We are recently focusing a lot on the promotion of the journal and also published papers. We are also encouraging authors to prepare short movies that are like the abstracts for the manuscripts, but in the form of the videos. Currently, the journal is in Q2 in JCR categories. We are waiting. In next 2 weeks, we should have new evaluation of impact factors for all the journals. So we are waiting. Here are some metrics about the journal as well, but the most important things that the journal is offering is the open access format, which means that the authors are keeping their copyright permissions to their work, to their results, to their figures, and everything that is included in the published paper. High visibility, so as I mentioned, we are also working on visibility in the social media, on our websites, but as well as we are indexed in a lot of very reputable databases like Scopus, Web of Science, PubMed, and many others. And we are also very hardly working on a thorough review process. We have on our website provided all the details on the editorial process, how is it working, what are the exceptions, and what will happen if editor didn't agree with reviewer, and the other way. So we want to be very transparent and clear about our procedures. Okay, so that was all about the journal. I would like this workshop to be a little bit, maybe not interactive, but to engage you a little. So in case you have any questions during the presentation, we can discuss it during the presentation, not only after, so just please feel free to ask. Recently, believe me, there is a lot of ethical issues happening in publishing. There's also a lot of websites that are publishing the major things happening all around the publications. And actually, those are happening between the publishers. I know it because I'm dealing with ethical cases in nanomaterials on a daily basis. And believe me, you will not believe what people imagination, how big can be. And they think that it won't be found out. But since we have the artificial intelligence, it's even more of these cases reported. Since artificial intelligence is able to detect this text duplication, plagiarism, but also the figures duplication around different published papers. So I will just say a few words. What are the, let's say, the most common misconducts? Of course, the first, data fabrication. So you have a theory and you are adjusting the data you received to your theory. Believe me or not, but it's happening quite a lot. It can be spotted on the graphs. They are, you can spot that they are not natural, let's say. They have been altered and some points. And this is also very important because some authors are trying to redo the experiments described in the paper, and they are receiving completely different results, what is also the waste of their time. This is the other thing from the ethics as well, but still. Here you can see a few examples that we are dealing with currently. So, for example, as you can see, the same image have been used in 3 different papers reporting 3 different materials. However, they were published across different publishers, across different journals, so nobody noticed it. Currently, for example, in nanomaterials, I want to give you a few examples, like real-life examples. I am dealing currently with probably 13 retractions of the same author, and the publications were across all the journals, across all the publishers, and the same images were used in 5 different papers. They were cut out from the part of the photo, the brightness and darkness and exposure were adjusted. It's really, really interesting. I couldn't believe when I received all the reports from the cases, but it's really happening. Here you can also see how some parts were cut and like copy-pasted. On the first side, you won't see those issues here, but if you will take a closer look, you will see that those parts are exactly the same. So what is not possible in the natural cases. I'm checking if I should tell something here, but yeah, I think I make a point here. The other thing is about the copyrights, because not only figures and tables are under copyrights, also the text from your papers can be subjected to the copyrights. If you publish your paper in traditional format, you are not the owner anymore of the figures of the table, also the text. To be honest, if you would like to reuse your figure, table, or any part of the text, you need to very carefully check the policy of the publisher. Recently, for example, I was also checking the part of the manuscript. I don't remember what was the publisher. I think Taylor and Francis, but I'm not sure. It was written that following 200 words or something like that, if they are used in other publication, the copyright permission is needed. So in this case, the authors have 2 choices. Either do it in the quotation and cite the paper, or rephrase the sentences so they are not exactly the same. And actually, the person who is responsible for obtaining all the copyright permissions is the author. The publisher is not responsible for that. So if you will be accused of taking the figure, for example, without copyright permission, it will be on you. So this is very important to provide all the copyright permissions needed when submitting the paper. In case of open access, you are still the owner of the figures, text, tables, but there are also different kind of open access, so it is also important to check on the website of the publisher. There is the kind of open access format which says specifically that the figure can be reused without permission, but any modifications are not allowed, for example. Or that the figure can be reused, but couldn't be used for the commercial reasons. And here the definition of commercial reasons is very broad, and nobody is defining it, to be honest. So just in case, it's always better to ask for the copyright permissions than do not have it if you are not sure if you need it or not. Or contact the publisher of the paper and ask what is their policy. Most of the copyright permissions can be obtained on the website of the manuscript through the online system of the publisher. Then in 90% they are free of charge, but sometimes it's happening that when you are applying for the copyrights, the publisher is charging it. Especially it's from my experience, it applies to the books and figures and data in the books. So yeah, short quotations of the same text used from previous publication. If their sections are big, as you can see in the point 3, the permission have to be requested from the publisher. In case of methods and literature, I believe that it is very hard sometimes to rephrase something for the 5th time if you are using the same method, but the best way here is just to cite your previous paper and just describe only the differences that you make this time in comparison to your previous works, or just rephrase if it's possible. The same is about text recycling and overlap. It is not allowed in results, discussion, and conclusions section. In case of methods, the publishers are rather not so strict because, as you know, those are technical terms, description of synthesis. Sometimes, as I said, it's hard to rephrase it. But the best way is actually to, as I said, cite the previous paper and then add some additional comments. And actually, this is also very important. I can tell on our, in case of our experience, if the authors are adding the citations under the figure, we are checking if this figure actually needs copyrights, if the authors have provided correct copyrights, and so on. But in case the authors didn't provide any citation in the figure caption, but still the figure was taken from another publication, we are not able to spot it. At least so far we don't have, in our case, we don't have a tool that will enable us to check the images duplication from the other publications, maybe in the future. I'm not sure what the IT department is working now on, but... And regarding, I think that in nanomaterials it didn't happen very often, but in case any research is carried out and involving humans, the research have to follow the declaration of Helsinki, and in case the research is involving animals, the authors, the scholars, need to have the institutional review board approval. Here you can see the example, how it looks. And this institutional review board should be established at your university if you are using any animal in your research, and you need to have the project identification number and date of the approval. And this statement is added in the manuscript in the back matter, so after the main text of your manuscript. I believe that research on humans in nanoscience didn't happen very often, but since we have here the part about social part of this topic, this is very important thing as well. So in case of some service questionnaire, social media research, or participants must be fully informed if anonymity is assured, why the research is being conducted, how the data will be used, and if there are any risks associated to that. Additionally, any person cannot be identified by data provided in the paper or by photos in the paper. So the photos have to be done in the way that is not allowing to identify the particular person. And regarding the other things like multiple publications, we are facing this simultaneous publication, so you should submit your paper to the one journal at the time. So it is not allowed to submit papers to 2 different journals, because sometimes people are just doing it because they believe that in one journal it will be published, maybe in other not. But what if both of them will accept? It is also happening, even though I didn't face it yet, but I faced the case when the authors published paper in Chinese language, and then they submitted the same paper in English language to nanomaterials. The paper was published. Of course, the plagiarism check didn't detect it because there were 2 different languages. And then the authors contacted us that the university is not, let's say, happy with that, that they published 2 papers just as a translation. However, translations are possible. It's possible to have a paper written in the other language translated into English, for example. But in that particular case, the publisher of the original, so first paper, have to agree on that. And in that case of these 2 papers that I was dealing with, the publisher didn't agree to have a translation of the paper. So in the end, the paper in nanomaterials had to be retracted, as it was the second one that was published. Duplicated and multiple publications, so that's what I already mentioned. So there is no difference between the papers in data, results, conclusions. Basically, maybe they are rephrased, but the other paper is not adding nothing new to the knowledge. There are the same hypothesis, data, conclusions, and so on. Salami slicing, more than 2 articles that are published with the same data, so just described in a different way, and scholars are trying to just tell a story in few different ways, but still this is the same story. Regarding disclosure of conflict of interest, this is something that really not a lot of people understands. So there are 2 different kinds of conflict of interest. First is financial interest, and the second is not financial interest. So in case any of the authors is, for example, stakeholder, owner, employee of the company that the scope is related with the research described in the paper, they should disclose it. They may write that they don't have conflict of interest, which means that nobody was, let's say, pushing them, encouraging to change the data or to interpret the data in the way that company will like, and so on. But still, in the declaration of conflict of interest, the authors have to state that during the research, he or she was employed in that and that company, but they didn't receive any financial reward for manipulating interpretation of data, and so on. There is a special disclosure form where all the authors have to sign, which basically there are authors added that do not have a conflict of interest, and the one that is employed in the company, and he or she has to state if any reward was received or not. Usually, of course, not, but still it has to be clearly declared for the readers, because the reader should also see that this and this person is the employee of the company, that the scope of work is the same as in the published or submitted paper. Here you can see the example of maybe more complex statement. So as you can see here, the founding sponsor had no role in the design of the study, collection, interpretation, but this and this person was the research project manager, was employed, and so on. Someone has also been a co-inventor of several patents, and so on. Every kind of these details have to be stated in the paper. Next, authorship issues, which are also very often misconduct. First one is the ghost authors. So there are people that contributed substantially to the paper, but they are not added as the authors. Sometimes it's happening that the universities are evaluating in a different way papers where more than 10 authors are added, and that's why sometimes some authors are being omitted. And then we are receiving a lot of, we are not receiving a lot of complaints, but the publisher may receive a complaint from the person who haven't been added, and in this case, the publisher is not able to make a decision. In this case, we are obligated to contact the institute of the corresponding author, and the institute is obligated to make an investigation and provide us with the decision, because the only university can have access to all the people, resources, and so on, to check the case if this and this person actually contributed to this work, make some part in the research or not. So as the publisher, we are not able to make any decision in the case of authorship. We are only following the instructions from the institutes, university, but it doesn't change the fact that we have to contact the university regarding those authorship cases. Guest author is someone who didn't make any contribution, but it's just added to the paper because maybe this person needs a publication or something like that. Gift authorship is the other type. So usually it's related with adding a very known person or expert in the field to make the publication be more possible in their mind, let's say. So I can say one word from my experience that was actually quite maybe funny, maybe not funny. There were the authors that added a very famous scholar to the authorship list. They also provided his data in the invoice, and they were hoping that the author will just pay this invoice because they added him. But he didn't know that they added him. So yeah, these kind of things are really happening. I haven't been thinking about it until, as I said, I started working in nanomaterials. The people's imagination have no borders. So before the manuscript is published, you should be honest. Every author that is deserving to be the author should be added. Everyone should check the final version of the paper. You should be sure that none of your co-authors have made any falsification, fabrication of the data, that there is no plagiarism, and that you have all the copyright that are needed for your paper, and any ethical issues are not involved here in the paper. After the manuscript is published, there is actually not a lot that can be done. So now a few words how the publishers are dealing with different ethical cases. So generally when we are working on ethical cases, we are following the Committee of Publication Ethics recommendations, as we are their member. And but actually they are not setting any strict rules, they are providing recommendations. And the publisher role and the journal role is to introduce those suggestions into our policy and adjust them to our work. But as I mentioned, we are mostly working with the Committee of Publication Ethics suggestions. Additionally, regarding the authorship and who can be added as authorship, like what criteria the scholar have to fill in to be added as the author, we are following the International Committee of Medical Journals Editors. No, medical journals, but believe me, a lot of journals is following the criteria that they establish, not only medical journals. And additionally, we have our own ethics policies and guides on our website. And here you have some topics that are included in our guidelines, so they are quite easy to follow and find the point, the issue that is interesting you. In case of plagiarism, like the text plagiarism, we are using the Identicate program, which is enabling us to compare your submission with the other already published papers. And of course, there are some criteria established, but those are internal ones. What are the percentage of the application allowed, let's say, and also how many words, one by one, we are checking when checking the application with the other published papers, and a lot of other things. There are also preprints, as you can see here, but the preprints are, for example, not peer-reviewed. So if you submitted any preprint, your submission can be exactly the same as the one submitted to the journal, because preprints are not peer-reviewed and they are not considered as the plagiarism. Here, let's say, how we are handling problems. So before the paper is published, some cases can be solved, but not all of them. We are usually very concerned when, for example, during the revision, the authors are added one short paragraph, but then we have 3 new authors. So in that case, we are obligated to ask the authors what is the contribution of those 3 new authors. The authors also have to sign the authorship change form, so that means that all the authors have to agree to add new authors. And generally, we are rather trying to ask the authors for the evidence what was the contribution of those 3 new authors, because there was only revision of 1 paragraph, which I think doesn't need addition of 3 authors. So those are other cases of exactly what I mentioned, like gifted authorship, guest authorships, maybe adding the director of the laboratory or someone. So this is something that should not happen. After the publication, any revision in your manuscript needs to follow publication of correction. And this correction is sent to all the scientific databases because the paper in the database have to be updated. In case there are major concerns about the data in your paper, it is possible that your paper would be retracted. So this decision have to be made by the editors in the journal. But at the beginning of each investigation, we are asking authors to provide the raw data which they used in the paper, in the submission. That's why the collecting of your raw data from the previous research is also very important, just to keep it safe and collect. Yeah, because then those raw data are sent to the editors, and editors are checking if those raw data are the same as in the published paper, or if they, for example, totally lost trust in the data provided in the manuscript. So in that case, the editor may decide that the paper should be retracted, and the authors do not have to agree for retraction. The journal is deciding about retraction. There is a note added in the paper whether the authors agreed or not, but still it's the journal decision. In case of corrections, of course, it's also happening that the authors have miscalculated something, added a wrong picture, duplicated the picture by accident, and so on. So the corrections are done are established so the manuscripts can be corrected, more reliable and more trustful, of course. Yeah, here's some case sharing. So you can see reader alert the journal about the plagiarism in the published article, and the reader calls for retraction. What should the journal do? So first we are checking with the help of our editors what is the level of plagiarism, if it is mainly in the methods part or if it is mainly in the results part, conclusions, and so on. So everything has to be discussed on the scientific level with the editors from editorial board. As I said, we can ask the authors to provide the raw data for their paper, for the figures that they published they reported in the manuscript. If it's feasible, we can go with correction if editors suggest so. If editors think that this kind of corrections will not help to keep the paper reliable, the retraction might be also appropriate. And here is also the example of duplicated publication. So the authors published the paper in biomolecules, and the only change of the subject was that they used the other, it was written the other cup, because I think it was a paper about the Chinese tea. And of course the second paper was retracted. Yeah, here's the part about the translation, so I already say a few words about it. The permission from the original publisher have to be obtained in order to publish a translation, because the publisher is also the owner of the text, figures, tables, and so on. Regarding the addition or removing of the author, the authorship concerns are not a base usually for the retractions. Retraction should be only used if if the data reported in the paper are not trustful, the editors think that most of the data were fabricated, and so on. In case of authorship issues, as I said, the university have to make an investigation, provide the publisher with a decision, and publisher will follow their decision. So it is also the easiest way if both sides agree to add the additional author, it's easier. But if both sides do not agree on that, the university investigation it is. And yeah, of course, after acceptance, changes are not shouldn't be introduced, because it's very rare happening that the other authors forget to add someone who make a substantial contribution. So this author was either omitted by purpose or maybe the authors think that this person didn't contribute enough to deserve the authorship. What as the authors you can do? For sure, at the beginning, you should consider who make a substantial contribution to your research, to your submission, who drafted the work, who provided some comments, suggestions for improvements, and so on. All the authors should approve the final version, so they should also see what is the final authorship of the paper, and agreement to be accountable for all those aspects of the work. So all the authors should be also able to reply to the questions regarding results in your paper. In our case, in back matter, we also have something like authorship contributions, and we are following the credit taxonomy. So here you can see 14 roles that can be attributed to the authors as the contributions, but there are few exceptions. So, for example, if the author has only founding acquisitions, or only project administration, or only supervision, shouldn't be added as the author. This is according to the Society of Medical Journal Editors. So it is written there that if somebody has only this contribution, shouldn't be added as the author. And here you can see how the appropriate contribution should look like according to the credit taxonomy. And something that is a lot of people are asking about, and this is actually a very developing topic, and that constantly needs changes in the regulations, very dynamic, actually every day something is changing. Here I would like to recommend you a very nice paper published in a future internet journal of MDPI. The authors make an experiment and check a few chatbots for creating a manuscript. None of them actually passed the test. The closest one was the, if I remember correctly, the ChatGPT 4, but still it didn't pass the test. I really encourage you to read it. This paper has already more than 12,000 views and more than 13 citations. It was published in the end of 2023, but the authors have showed that so far the AI tools are not able to generate trustful articles, saying basically, they found out that the ChatGPT was focusing mainly on papers published in English language. It wasn't focused on the other sources. It was also more focused on the literature that was highly cited only, that was available in the internet. So it followed some kind of hallucination, as the authors call it. You can read about it in this paper. It was very interesting, I think. And here are some scores. I won't be going into details because I'm also not the expert in this field. But as you can see here, it was the score. And if I remember correctly, to pass the test, their score should be 1 or above 1. So still none of the chatbots were able to produce the article, the same as the humans did, but it was close. Yeah, here is some recommendations from the STM Association. So this is International Association of Medical, Technical, of Scientific, Technical and Medical Publishers. AI for sure cannot be added as the author in the manuscript. And also, these recommendations are updated regularly, and the authors are responsible for all the content that was created by artificial intelligence. Also, if at any point the artificial intelligence was used in your paper preparation, the appropriate statement should be added in your paper. Only if you use the AI tool for the grammar improvements, for the polishing the language, currently, according to guideline, it doesn't have to be stated in the paper, but if AI was used at any other level, everything has to be stated in acknowledgements, and additionally in methods part, everything has to be described, like what comments have you used, and generally whole methodology of using AI in the paper. Also, as I mentioned, there are also cases where reviewers are using AI to prepare review reports for the paper, but is actually not allowed according to the law, because you shouldn't upload to AI tools any documents, any data that you are not the owner of. I'm just checking because I have only 1 minute more maybe, so I'm checking what else, if something important I have here. Yeah, so as I already mentioned, during the submission there is a lot of issues that authors should consider, like copyright, privacy, all the regulations regarding the research on humans, animals, also in case of using AI as well. Okay, maybe you can skip it. Yeah, on our website we have also all the our regulations provided regarding the using of AI tools and AI technologies, and each publisher actually should have, so you should always check the website of the publisher and their guidelines. Thank you very much. And of course, if you have any questions, you can come to me today. Tomorrow, unfortunately, I won't be here anymore, but today, please feel free to come to me. I assure you that I don't know answers to everything, but there is a lot of things that I can provide more light and clarified. If you would like to submit your opinion about the workshop and about the presentation, please feel free. Thank you once again.
Okay, so thank you very much both to Paulina for the excellent content. Yeah, there are some. All right, let's take 1 or 2 questions, please, very fast. There is a microphone somewhere, so please
okay,
stay.
I have one question first. Sorry for the other ones. I wonder actually two questions. You mentioned before that if the authors are only contributing as a project administration, funding, or supervision, they should not be added in the list of authorship. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the other one is, are you also controlling if studies include ethical approvals when they have human subjects?
Yeah, they have to provide us with the documents signed by the university with the number of approval and the date of approval, and then those data and information are added in this back matter as I showed on the example. And I'm not sure what was your question about the authorship.
Yes.
We have to trust the authors, so they are receiving the author statement, and they have to fill in what contributions were assigned to which author contributed with which part of the paper according to the taxonomy. But theoretically, if the if there is someone who contributed only with founding or with the project administration or was just a supervisor without any intellectual contribution, ideas, they should be added in the acknowledgements of the paper, not as the author. But I'm saying like the person has only supervision or only project administration or only founding. If there is 3 of them, it's okay, but it was about the sole contributions.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
how is this checked?
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we need to take one more question from some other participant, and then if you have more, because we still have one more session afterwards, sorry to don't want
Thank
to
you
take too much
for
time.
your
So,
very insightful presentation. I was very concerned, for example, with the first point you addressed. Should we take then results always as a truth or facts that are published, or should we maintain the skepticism that the scientific method requires to scientists? And also, if you have some insights, how should we balance the trust in peer reviewing and the critical thinking that we need? If I'm doing an SBD and I need the size of my nanoparticle, and I see that same, I can take a size that was published 3 times for 3 different materials. So can you give me some advice on how we should balance the trust in peer review with the critical thinking that every researcher should have?
This is a very complex question, but for example, I had a case where the authors cited some publications in their paper, and as the years were going, for example, 3 of those papers were retracted. So the authors came to us and they just told us that they want to replace those citations with the ones that are reporting the same results, but they are more trustful, because as the paper was retracted, the authors do not want to have those references included in their paper. So in these cases, the replacement of the citations is also possible, for example.
Thank you so much.
okay.
Maybe we can discuss.
We will continue. Sorry for not taking more questions, but we don't have time. So you can ask Paulina and Eva, and also many other experienced researchers in the room later before the dinner and tomorrow morning as well. So thank you very much.